Give it one more. Oh, okay. Mr. Aaron? Okay. Well, I think it's time. So I'd like to call the St. Patrick's Day meeting of the Board of Architectural Review to order. We changed it to Zoom at the last minute to perhaps allow some of you to set up at your local Irish pub and enjoy corned beef during the meeting, and then we won't tell. In any event, here we all are, and let's get started. Our first item on the agenda is the Sunnymead project at 194 East Lake Road, the McLennans, for changes in landscaping and a patio. They have been to the Board of Zoning Appeals and received their variance. And perhaps, Mr. Boyce, you'd like to tell us what has changed since you last visited us and how we're doing.
That sounds like a fabulous introduction, and I appreciate that. If you'd permit me to share my screen, I can show you how we listened to your board's direction, and then that is what we submitted to the Board of Appeals.
Sounds good.
Okay,
You should be able to share the screen.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Can everybody see my screen?
I can.
Yes.
Excellent. There's some things you don't need to see. That may look better now. Okay, so first and foremost, and probably very important to the board, is that we reduced the number of trees we were looking to remove down to 4 from the originally proposed 12 to be removed. The 4 are indicated here with X's, and that falls directly in front of the patio, which we also shrunk down to 420 square feet, realizing that what we had originally proposed was larger than what we really needed, so we minimized the disturbance there. It's important to note that the proposed patio falls wholly on the area that has been previously disturbed right around here in this photograph. So it's not virgin territory, it's actually a very loose aggregate that's erosive and just messy. So the tree reduction, what I think is meaningful. The patio is smaller. I believe that's pretty meaningful. We created a rain garden to within the 100-foot setback to improve the riparian ecology there by intercepting all the runoff from the lawn before it goes off into the lake. That's pretty important to note because with a slight depression there, it'll slow all the water down and the water will percolate into the ground rather than running off directly into the lake with any herbicides or pesticides. Another improvement to the plan, which was made at the behest of the Board of Appeals, was that we increased the ground cover here at the edge of the existing road that will remain, the gravel path that'll remain. That's all ground cover, so it's not as much lawn and it's more ground cover. So I can show you where that is on the photograph as well. That area falls right in like this area here, just above the patio. Then in testimony, but not really clearly depicted on this plan, we demonstrated that our willingness to almost mess up this riparian edge here. This is a stone riprap, which if viewed from the lake looks almost like a wall. If viewed on site, doesn't really look like a wall. It looks more like loose aggregates, but they're consolidated, so it appears kind of linear and man-made. Again, our intention is to create a pathway and steps that weave in and around the existing trees, all of which are to remain other than those 4. Actually, an important note on the plan, which isn't graphically depicted, is that we've committed to maintaining the existing topography within 1 foot of where it currently falls, so that we're not impacting any tree roots, nor are we importing significant fill. You might remember that we're consolidating the aggregate from this pathway and using that as a base for the patio trying to keep that from moving around by placing our bluestone over it. So those are the main changes to the plan. I guess in the numbers we've added, it was 400 additional ground covers to the property up here, or was it 200? I don't recall. It was more for sure. I have that number with me right here. Carex, Pennsylvania. So now we're planting 600 Carex speciosa, which is it's a low-lying native grass. That concludes the changes from the original plan. That's what we presented to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and then we actually made those 2 changes on the fly with the Board of Appeals, including increasing the ground cover and that note on the plan. And that concludes my opening description.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Do any of the bar members have any comments?
Yes, Christopher Gow here. Again, want to thank you for these vast improvements you've made. It seems the priority, of our board, the Board of Architectural Review, seems to be the opinion seems to be aesthetics. That's true. With projects like this, where the landscaping is done next to the reservoir, the primary, the most important thing is the environmental aspect, and so you're pushing it in the right direction. I think there's more of an understanding. Let's put less of a misunderstanding. Most people understand what's involved with the structural, the engineering, the rules and the regulations of building a house, but when they deal with the landscaping, and I'm sure William will agree with this, most people have no idea and don't realize. They think it's just aesthetic. They don't understand the importance. So it's great that we're getting to this fantastic agreement of what's doing the right thing. All property owners in Tuxedo Park have a stewardship, a role, a responsibility, especially if you buy property by the lake. So it's great that that's being recognized and that's going forward. So I'm delighted that about the plan. That said, the thing that I'm still very concerned with, and that is the functionality of trees. Reducing the amount of trees to 4 that's being removed, especially on this site, is still 4 too many. It is a very compromised site and they are very useful, important trees. Compromises are important, and I'm so delighted that you've made so many compromises and fulfilled many of our needs, wants, and desires. But I would ask that one tree, the large tree, I forget the number, the oak tree, I think is it number 17-inch caliper, I think is, or 27-inch caliper.
There is one very large one.
The 19-inch.
We've got L14.
I think it's the
10,
L14 one. I think, what was the caliper of that?
Let me see. 19.
Yeah, a 19-inch oak tree. To remove a 19-inch oak tree is, I don't know, it's like, to me, it's murder. All the good and all the good functioning. It's like if you have your porch, your terrace, and you have the roof above it and you have the pillars supporting it, and you chop down one of the pillars to get a better view, and it compromises the structure. That's what's happening here. We're compromising in a significant way by removing that one. Yes, take the other 3 down, but I beg that you keep that 19-inch tree, T14. Apart from that, I'm happy with it.
Thank you.
Do any of our other members have any comments? Okay, can you stop sharing the screen so we can see each other? I think we
Yes.
can.
My apologies.
No, it's helpful. I guess my view on this is there has been great compromise, and you are permitted under the code to cut down 4 trees. And I think a lot of progress has been made. I did want to point out that I did receive a letter from Julian Hempel, who was at our last meeting, and she asked me to read it into the record, and I'll do that. And I agree with her. I thank Mrs. McLennan and her landscape architect, Mr. William Boyce, for being responsive to the concerns raised at the prior bar and BZA meetings regarding the environmental impact of construction work on land abutting our drinking water reservoir. I wish you well in your review tonight with the bar. Best, Julian Hempel. I don't disagree with Christopher. You might want to, consider as you go forward whether another tree of less caliber might be more suitable and of less damage to remove. But at this point, I think a lot of positive changes have been made in decreasing the size of the patio and compromising, as I think no one disagrees with. Does anyone else have any comments? Do we have any members of the public here to speak on this application? Okay.
Sheila,
Yes.
I want to commend both William Boyce and the McLennans for, very thoughtfully improving what was already, I felt, quite a strong plan, and one that did as much to heal the land that had been really butchered over the years. Much of that butchering preceding them, if I understand correctly, as much to heal that as certainly as to, further the butchering. From where I sit, it is a very constructive plan that's going to do a lot to mitigate erosion and mitigate runoff into the lake. I think these are very important things. I'm particularly pleased to see they're sort of narrowing the band of trees to be removed down to 4. I think that was a very thoughtful and meaningful concession, and it's sort of where I personally had hoped they might end up. So from where I sit, it's a very commendable and supportable application.
Any more comments before I make a motion? Okay. Council Honan, listen to make sure I'm not missing anything. And
before
Mr.
you get
Boyce-
started,
Yes.
Sheila, just as long as we include the most recent revision plan that we looked at, I think just now, and also incorporate any of the conditions that were imposed by the ZBA.
Right. And just to be clear, Mr. Boyce, I was going to reference your presentation at this meeting if everything isn't clearly stated on the plans, that you had to, like the pathway and the topography and the ground cover along the path. Do I
Yes,
need to do that, or it's hard for me to see all the notes. Is it
Of
all in
course.
there?
It is all in there. I presented the plan last updated on March 2nd,
I saw that.
2022. That's the plan that we mailed in or delivered. And I didn't deviate from that presentation of what is
Okay.
included in that plan tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that said, I'd like to make a motion to approve the landscaping and patio plan presented to the BZA and set forth on drawings dated March 2nd, 2022 by Mr. William Boyce of Biosphere, in accordance with the terms of the decision of the BZA dated March 2nd, 2022, granting them a variance subject to compliance with all DEC requirements and as set out in the BZA decision and the presentation made this evening by Mr. Boyce.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Way, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to our second application of the,
Thank you.
oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for working with us.
Thank you.
Okay, the second application of the evening is the Harris presentation at 71 Laurelard Road. In addition to home and architectural changes, are there representatives of the Harrises here? Oh, you're on mute,
Tim
sir, I
Greer.
think.
Hi,
Mr.
it's
Greer.
Tim Greer, an architect for Mila Harris. And I'm here with you tonight.
Hello,
Hello.
could you share the screen with us and show us your vision, how the existing house looks in comparison and what your proposal is?
Yes. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Can you see the drawings now?
No, I see a list of something, more than meetings, it says. Not quite yet.
How about this survey?
No, something called more than meetings is on the screen.
Oh, okay. I see. Maybe if I move this over.
Take your time.
How about that?
There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
I was thinking we were going to be in person. I'm just learning from my team here. So this is the site plan. This actually the survey that we had done recently by the surveyor to just verify that everything was accurate. And this drawing shows the existing house number 71, and these numbers 1, 2, and 3 show you views. This is view number 1. If we go back, you can see it's from this northeast corner of the site. And we're proposing an addition to go right where the cursor is, right here. That is a 1-story addition on this 2-story house. It's a family room, something the house does not have at this point. And it basically completes this wall going across the north, and then this wall on the east side, extending that to the north, this wall to the east. And if you look at this image here, you can see how the addition would fit next to the house. And I can also show you an elevation of that, a drawing, but this is just to show you how the massing works. And then this is a view from the southeast corner looking back, and you can see that it's well, you can't tell from this, but it's about 36, 38 feet from the property line, about just under 40 feet. The house is slightly angled compared to the property in relation to the property line, but this is an extension of that west wall, so it gets slightly closer than the current 40 feet. Now we recognize that the side yard setback requirement is 50 feet, but it continues this wall here, and it just is a cleaner way to add on to the house. It makes the addition fit in naturally with the house, even though it's slightly closer, and so that's why we're hoping to be able to do this. The propane tank and the garbage would move out and be in a shed over on this side next to the existing condenser and electrical panel. So it'll actually improve that elevation too. So that gives you an idea of what we're talking about. And then if we can go to the drawings, this is the set of drawings that we submitted, and you can see here on this site plan where the addition would fit at this northeast corner. And there's the point that is currently closest to that property line, which is 40 feet. And then it tapers a little bit this way to get a little bit closer. And then it continues this way across. And then this shows you the foundation plan existing, and then this is how that piece gets added in. And then this is the ground floor plan. And shows how we'll have a fireplace here, connect with the kitchen. It's a small kitchen now. We make a larger kitchen, make some other improvements and renovate bathrooms and millwork and a lot of other interior things, and then add this room on here. And then this is a second floor plan. So you can see it's a standing seam, lead coated copper roof, and all the other flashing and downspouts and all the other metal work is lead coated copper. So it would be continuing that same aesthetic. And then here's the roof plan. So you can see how the piece looks from above in relation to the rest of the roof structure there. And then here's an elevation that you can see the existing house on the top here. And then there's that photograph that we showed the addition superimposed on. And there's the same corner. And then this is what it would look like with the one-story addition. And we'd carry across the same fenestration and door kind of strategy into this one. And then there'd be a couple of double doors going out this side. And then on the north elevation is the fireplace, the chimney, which would go up here. There are a couple other changes that we're proposing to the exterior. And this is the existing elevation that faces the road. And we would change this slightly kind of funky arched pediment entrance to look like this, and take these two very thin columns on each side and have that are square, and have larger square columns here, and just sort of simplify that a little bit and have it look nicer nested into the larger gable behind it. The other proposed changes are fixing the masonry work and making repairs to replacing shutters and things that are just basically cleaning up the existing house and repairing it. And you can see here the elevation from the south won't look any different. The only difference you see on this elevation from the west is that you'll see the chimney coming up over here for the addition, which is behind this roof structure here. And then if we go to the other side, we looked at this elevation, and we looked at this one, and that's a quick summary of what we're proposing to do there. The rest of the improvements are things like renovating the kitchen, repairing things in the basement, new laundry room, and other things within the existing footprint and within the floor plans of the house, the existing.
That's not our business.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a quick version, and I also summarized these changes in this letter, which we forwarded over earlier, that you may have seen. So feel free to look at that and let us know if you have any other questions or comments.
I know we've noticed the neighbors, and I believe you'll need a setback variance. You'll be back for us, but I'll solicit the members of the bar to give you their thoughts on this initial design. Anybody? I think
So it looks like a very thoughtful, sensible plan, Mr. Greer. And I think the family room addition in particular is really effective and smart. I don't suppose you have a photograph of the west front, the part that faces the Weewa, Little Weewa.
The faces, well, this is
with the entrance.
Oh, yes. Let's see.
And I have a reason for asking, but I just wonder if you could.
Yeah, the entrance you're talking about the west elevation.
Right. Yeah, well, maybe it's easier if I explain the reason for the question is that this house has a wonderful, it's both sober and playful at the same time. It's little play on Hollywood Regency, right? And that entrance is pretty key to that sort of effect from where I sit. And the only thing in this program that to me didn't seem to be adding something, but possibly subtracting, was the overhaul of the portico and the front. But I wanted to get a better sense of the reasoning for that, I guess.
So we think that that arched entrance with this sort of shallow barrel vault, first of all, it's in really bad shape. But also we thought that it took away from the clarity and simplicity of the design of the house. It's a very elegant house, and that's why we don't want to change anything else. But the very thin columns we thought didn't really go with everything else in the house. Now, I'll just see if I can find a. I'm sorry about scrolling through these. Maybe if I thought I might be able to find a photo of the exterior.
So just to give you I guess my honest reaction, that one overhaul of the portico to me felt a bit brutal and blunt for this playful cottage. And I didn't think was necessarily an enhancement. I thought the family room was. I mean, I had a question about, those bay windows are so beautiful. Another playful element is the kind of concavity of the, if you know what I'm saying, of the bay roofing. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the curvature.
Yeah.
And I wondered whether that wasn't a missed opportunity, but I also see that because of the chimney, that may be difficult and it would completely probably change the budget. So again, I think that the family room addition, the main thing that that's part of this proposal, is very thoughtful and sensible. I guess I would have questions about the overhaul of the portico.
Well, the other thing, understand the comment. I think we're hoping to change all the, repoint the masonry and repair other areas that do need to be replaced, re-waterproofed, re-flashed, counter flashing needs to be replaced, new roofing, and all these other improvements. And we thought, since the thin columns have kind of rotted out, that they might look nicer if they were a single column on each side, and then a simpler flat roof with an inset panel molding around it. I'm sorry, pediment that would sort of go better with the larger gable pediment behind it. So it's really something that we thought probably wasn't original, those really thin columns anyway, and the underside of that barrel kind of vault above the entrances looks like it was added on as a sort of beadboard kind of plastered on to make a repair. And so we thought it'd be a nice opportunity to do something that is kind of more consistent with the kind of simple deco clarity of the rest of the house.
One last thought before I pass it on to my colleagues on the board is, to the extent that it is at all valid, and maybe it isn't, that the retooled pediment is a little bit blunt. Another thought I had, and this is a detail you find often in Empire style buildings, and there's a sort of a connection between Hollywood Regency and Empire, I think, is a small, deep, dark hole, a sort of round. You know the detail I'm talking about, Mr. Greer?
Yes,
Sort of
I do. I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
I mean, that might be
Sure,
another
yeah.
thought, and it would echo the sort of barrel vaulted dormer over on the
This
south.
one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the nicest features of this. And one thing we liked so much about it was how kind of this simple flat and then very thin trim around it. And actually we had that drawn here too. I think if we had a larger scale drawing of this, it also might show some of those subtleties that recalled some of these details. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Just
So
a thought.
We'll take a look
Yeah.
at that too. So.
Who else has any comments?
I would say that backing up some of the things that Rob was talking about, I think that I know the house very well, and I think that the extension is beautifully thought out. The front portico, though, was the only stickler for myself. Part of, in my opinion, Hollywood Regency is the playfulness of it and the unexpected and the delicateness of it, almost contradicting what, the mass. So I'd be thrilled if we could see some more details, some more ideas for that front.
We're happy to spend some more time on that and do something at a larger scale that explains it a little better too. So
Thank you.
points well taken. We'll take a look at that.
All right, thank you.
There's Christopher Gow. Yes, it's a wonderful opportunity. We want the cars sort of stop screeching to a stop to see this. Because yes, you have the opportunity here to have something marvelous because the structure lends itself to it. The way it is now, it kind of works. It may be, I mean, alluding to Hollywood Regency, it may be constructed as sort of like Tony Duquette-ish, not very well, and just sort of decorative, but it does have a lot of charm. So yeah, you want to keep that charm and not strip it away. As far as the guts and the back, it looks great. The extension. I have 2 points. The color of the windows is going to be the same as the current color. Is that correct?
Yes,
The doors. Yeah.
that's
So that
correct.
makes sense. And the only other comment I have is that because you're impinging on the the neighborhood, on the variant, you'll need a variance because you're getting near the property line. I would love to see when you come back to the bar, not necessarily a landscaping plan, but some effort made to hide all this air conditioning stuff to make sure that it's so that the neighbor doesn't see any of it. That would be my only other point. But apart from that, I like it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It is our intent to conceal that, and we'll bring that a drawing that shows how we would do that.
I think that the extension looks smooth and like it will make it look like it's always been there. I think it's going to be really nice. We can go through all the materials and finishes, but I understand, I believe that your goal is to pretty much coordinate with the main house. So,
Yes,
right? Yeah,
that is correct. Yeah.
right. And I would appreciate seeing how you plan to disguise the out stuff, and look forward to seeing you the next time. Anybody else? Do we have anything else with comments on this before we say goodbye for now? Okay, I think we're good then. And we look forward to seeing you again after you go to the BZA.
Great. Thank you very much.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you for sharing.
Sure. Okay.
That's Natasha. Just talking? Wow, myself on mute.
John, you had to get us back to where we were.
I think he's trying to get out.
Okay.
Sorry, am I supposed to?
I can't find it.
Sorry, I'm.
That's
do I
okay.
do something
Take your
here?
time. I couldn't do it either.
I just got a lesson right before.
There we go.
Oh,
Excellent.
now we're
You
good?
did it.
Yeah, I did it.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you, whoever did that.
Okay. All right. Next, we have the Brook application at 34 East Lake Road for a one-story art studio. Is Mr. Brook or his representatives here?
Yes. And Kevin is going to present. Yes, hi.
Hi, Kevin. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Different
How are
house,
you?
different day.
Yes, that's right.
All right, so let me start out by introducing this project. Can I share my screen here?
Please
Yes, you
do.
can.
Okay. Let me take you through the existing house first. So this house.
Oh, we don't have it yet. I don't know
Okay,
if you think we have anything, we don't have anything.
can you see? You can't see it?
We see your emails.
Oh, that's weird. All right, hold on a second. I'll get the hang of this one of these years.
Take your time.
Can you see this?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is a downsized version of Ochre Point in Newport that was designed by McKinley and White. And it was constructed, I believe, around 25 years ago. Is that right, Mr. Brook? Oh, he's on mute, I believe. So let me go through the slides.
90,
1990, okay.
30 years ago.
Trying to get a slide thing here. So this is the view from the front, from the driveway. And then this view is of the house with the driveway down the middle. On the right side here is a retaining wall. And the proposed accessory building would actually will be behind this tree here. And there's a large rock outcropping right here that would hide it from view from the street. So it's really impossible to see from the street. And here's a view of the rear of the house looking south. And this is a view of the rear of the house looking towards that rock outcropping and onto East Lake Road. So you can see this large rock outcropping that's approximately 25 feet tall. And that's his existing storage shed. This would be located to the left of that existing storage shed. And I'm going to show you that location now. So this fence right along here screens these 4 air conditioning condensers that are here. So we plan on removing this fence and placing this structure. The rear wall would be exactly where that fence is, but a couple of feet, I believe it's about 3 or 4 feet. We'll look at the site plan next, off of the corner of the shed. So it would start here and go down to about this bush, which is about 22 feet away. And then it would come out 16 feet in front of that fence there. This is a view looking north. So this is the neighbor's property over here. And you could see the hillside here and the woods. It's really, and this is the winter, of course, so the leaves are down, but it's really impossible to see the structure from anywhere except from the lake, which is to our left here. That's the retaining wall that exists here. And then we would have the front platform and steps would come out about 5.5 or 6 feet off of this wall here. Let me go to the plan. Can you see the site plan? Sheila?
Oh, yes, I
Yeah.
Hi,
can.
can you see the site plan?
Yes, it's visible, Kevin.
It's visible, okay, thank you. So let me go up on the site plan here. Sorry, I have some issues with this. So the accessory structure is going to be located where this dark rectangle is here. And it'll have a small platform, a 5-foot platform that'll wrap around the front of it towards the lake. All of our zoning numbers are well within compliance of what's allowable. And just to run those off, it's 124 feet from the lake, roughly, and then 325 feet from the street. And again, it's hidden from the street by that rock outcropping. It's 290 feet from the north property line. So it's well shielded structure. Let me go to the plans. So what we're proposing, Mr. Brook found this structure online, and it's an all cedar structure. And I'll show pictures of it shortly, but it's a 16-foot deep by 22-foot wide structure, 1 story, and it has a small cedar platform and steps that we're going to add to the front of it. On the elevations, it's about 2 feet off the ground to the floor line. And I really wanted to make this look like a sort of like it is a Balinese architecture derived structure. So, you know, lifting it up on a base to keep it off the ground and then wrapping the steps around it on, let me get the front elevation, sorry. I don't know why I'm having some problems with this. All right, there's a view from the lake. So we'd be wrapping this angled platform around it. It's all stained cedar. So we intend on the stained cedar from the house. It's going to match the stained cedar shakes that are on the house right now. The roof is stained cedar. The doors are stained cedar. By the way, I inadvertently put these in as Marvin French doors. They're actually custom-made French doors that are made by the pergola manufacturer. And this pergola comes as a kit from Canada, and then it'll be constructed in the field by a carpenter. And then the rear faces the rock outcropping, so really no one will ever see this elevation here. The north elevation faces the neighbor's house to the north, and then the south elevation faces the Brooks house. And then let me show you some pictures of this. So this is what it'll look like without these 2 flanking 3-foot doors on each side. It would just be the 3 French doors in the middle and the same height. It has flared cedar rafter tails, exposed cedar rafter tails. Let me go to the other elevation. This is not how it's going to look, but that's the vertical cedar siding that would go in between the cedar posts. And then, not that you care about the interior, but the interior will be looking something like this, except that Mr. Brook is going to put a cedar ceiling on this and enclose all of this open lattice with cedar so that it would be a 3-season structure. And lastly, these are basically the same as the what was just shown, but this is the prefabricator's shop drawings. So it's essentially exactly the same as what we just saw. And then that's the section through it showing the curved rafters and the exposed rafter tails. And that is it.
I have a question I'd like to ask when these outbuildings are proposed, because sometimes we get an outbuilding proposed and we say, well, maybe we could live with that one, but then a couple months later, somebody else comes back and then they want to put something else on their property. And we like to see, you know, the whole proposal. If there is one, this may be all you're proposing, but is this the only outbuilding in the foreseeable future that you're proposing for your property?
I think, Paul, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, now do.
Yeah, it's the only proposed structure.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any comments from the bar?
Oh, yeah, it's Christopher Gow. There's, the tradition of fabulous houses like yours, which is really a stunning house, that tea houses and accessory structures are added, which aren't in the same architectural style, and they're sometimes completely different, like this one, and sometimes they work beautifully, and sometimes they clash. So it's so what would be helpful, that would be the view that we're going to get from the lake of the artist studio and your house, to see how they look together. We've seen them separately, but we haven't seen them together, to see whether it looks wonderful and they complement each other, or whether it clashes. That's the problem. If you have a custom-made suit, you're in, it's going to be a success. When you get an off-the-rack suit, it's a bit more of a challenge. And with this being off the rack, as it were, being a kit and not custom-made for the property, there is that risk. So that would be great to see that. I am thinking that it will probably
First
look.
of all, it is custom made. It has been custom designed. They have many different things. And we spent a good deal of time creating a structure that fits that space.
That's
Okay,
great, 'cause
what you see is what you see.
That's well, so because so far it's looking that it's going to be a synergistic. It'll look great, but just to confirm that, if it's possible to see it them together, or mock-up of the to see how close it is to the house, to see whether that shed spoils it, detracts from it, or adds to it, just to see the whole picture. Then I think
And I would propose maybe a site visit along with that.
I think, the only way to make that happen, because there's such a steep slope on the back of this property, would be to actually get into a boat and take a photograph from the lake. And then we'd have to, do a digital 3-dimensional rendering that would be superimposed onto that photograph. So, I mean, you're talking about a lot of work there. I could try to do it from the shoreline and take photographs up the hill, but I don't know that that's going to get you.
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to see anything in that sense. You have a sense of what that structure looks like, and you have a sense of what the house is. And the setbacks are so significant. And you've seen pictures in winter. There are trees in summer.
And there's also, I do believe, Kevin, did you got samples of the exterior materials?
Yes.
So they
Yes.
were made to match the exterior of the Brook House, and they were modified to match the exterior of the Brook House, using the Brook House as a model.
Kevin, one question I have, maybe short of doing, an obscene amount of work, would you be able to, to very easily digitally treat the photograph, so we can see what it looks like when it's painted to match, or stained to match the actual.
You have a picture of what the stain looks like that he
But I'm-
showed.
Right, but Mr.
Yeah,
Brick, do
it's-
we have maybe you could put it up if it's adequate, but what I'm talking about is a photograph of the new structure with the full tinting, stained treatment to match the house. And then if you saw them in sequence, even short of doing an obscene amount of work, you could extrapolate, sort of what the visual effect would be to Christopher's legitimate concerns.
let me go back to to share my screen a second. So this has obviously a browner stain on it than Mr. Brooks' house, which is more towards a reddish color, red cedar.
We just see a drawing.
Oh, you don't see the, oh boy, okay, hold on a second. Let me do a new share, see if this works.
I see it now.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, So this is a browner stain than the house has, which is more of a red stain, but we would certainly, we have samples that the manufacturer sent us, and we could take various stains, you know, and actually stain the physical cedar and maybe, you know, show you a match if you could do a field visit. Yeah, that's.
Can I
that's
ask a
one way to
question,
do it.
Kevin?
Sure.
So maybe if you put the actual house back up on screen, part of the reason I didn't think that this was even remotely what you intended, because I assumed that the outbuilding would adhere to the program of the house. That is to say, the trim would be green, so that it felt of a piece, you know, on the entire estate.
That's correct.
But
That
what
is,
I'm
that is correct.
but
What
what-
you're seeing now is not, is the exterior of the house, of the current Brook House, as you see now, with the green windows and the green windowsills and the red cedar, is
Right.
what will be used on that image that is on the exterior. And I believe that they actually did send samples of it to Kevin Brody, and it is the objective to have it mirror as closely as physically possible. We
great.
actually do have the paint in the house that matches the exterior windows here and the red lattice work. That is all stuff that continuously is maintained, and so all of that material is on hand. This is the exterior of the Bali Tea House that you see in the image that Kevin has shown, is the company's finished, I guess, for want of a better word, that is what was their advertisement of the structure. And in time, we took the Brook House, sent it to Canada to have them do what they could to modify that and more closely match the Brook House, keeping in mind that all you'll see is really exterior French door windows, which will have the green stain around it, that, or paint as it were, and the red brick as the alternative coloring. And I don't even think that the cedar is ultimately going to be different from the cedar shingle we have. This has a slightly more red look to it because of its juxtaposition to the brick paint that you see here. But I think in reality, the actual cedar is on the, it's really a winterized fabricated shed / pool area that we've worked with the company to make into a 3-season outdoor space, for outdoor indoor space, as it were. But a lot of effort was made to make sure that it does follow the image of the house and the coloring of the house as well. And if you notice that in the Brook House, there's the green columns over the outdoor porch and the 3 steps going down. That's being mirrored as well, even though this is very small. I don't think that the actual structure is as big as that area outside the Brook House, is the little porch you see there. It's about the same size as that, but but imagine it with French doors around it and its own little roof. And those stairs also would be included to mirror that.
Right. So thank you for that clarification, ma'am. That's really helpful. That's actually what I assumed, is that, and that's why I said we haven't seen the stain, because I assumed that the
You were
picture you
correct.
were
You were
showing
correct.
us was coming from the company
Correct.
in Canada. And to Christopher's, I think, quite legitimate point, I think it would be helpful to see, even if it's too onerous to present exactly what he was suggesting. What I was suggesting is that maybe you could address some of his legitimate concerns by showing us a digital rendering of this new outbuilding with the painted
correct coloring.
trim.
With the
Does
trim
that-
and coloring, yeah.
does that
That
make
makes some sense. And we
Yeah.
can, I mean, that's not, I don't see how, I mean, I don't want to speak for Kevin, but I don't think that's an impossible task, is it, Kevin?
No, it's not. I think the best way to handle this might be the lake. To do it from the lake obviously has its difficulties.
And I don't
with
even think that
things
that
like
area
that.
of the property is visible from the lake. You really can't see that. You could look from across the lake and realize that you can't see the shed that's on that is there now, or the air conditioning units, because of the retaining wall is so high. So there is really no view of that area from the lake.
That's the big question for me,
Yeah,
is how
there
much of that?
there really isn't any ability to see that that portion of the property. It's set back further than what you see right now, which is very difficult to see from the lake at all. But where the house ends and this shed slash structure will begin is set further back from the lake than even the end of the house, and further towards the
so-
the
So
shed.
this is, right, thank you. That's great to hear, and that's all meaningful. I think it would be useful to see images of the structure with the paint job and stain that you actually intend,
Mhm.
as opposed to what the factory is presenting. I
Okay.
should say, back up for a second, I think it's amazing you found this thing. I think it's amazing that company exists, and I think it's a wonderful design.
have
And I
Beautiful things.
and I
Beautiful.
I think it's a wonderful project. Don't get me wrong. I think the subtle differences between the very classic, Stanford White sort of shingle style of the house and the slightly more playful Tahitian, or however you're putting it, sort of play on the shingle style is wonderful. I
I
just
think
think
it's
you're,
going to be very subtle, the distinction. And I
Mhm.
think I appreciate your view that it is a cute little variation, but it's really close ultimately to what's there.
I think
and-
it's a very nice compliment. I think it's a nice compliment with a playful twist. But I do think that, for the purposes of the application, I think it would be quite meaningful just to see, to Christopher's point, how you've paid so much attention to both structures, but just to see how they coexist. And I think the patination, the color is key to that.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think
Rob?
that's not hard to do.
Rob, one thing I think I could do pretty easily would be to, get back as far as I can to a 3/4 rear photograph of the house as it exists, right? And get the rear elevation, a portion of that right side elevation that faces the accessory structure. So we'd have that 3-dimensional image photograph of the house. And then I could have a renderer take the CAD drawings that I've done already and put that into 3D colored to match the house. I mean, that might give you a better idea as far as proportion, right? How it looks together, like you said, with the architecture of the house.
I think that sounds terrific.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's very doable. And I think also we could take another, Kevin, can you put up the picture again that shows the wall with the air conditioning units on it, the little fence and the air conditioning units in it,
Sure.
and the out shed? I just don't know what image you have in your arsenal there.
Yeah,
but
let me
Provide,
pick that up.
And-
Can you see that?
I still see the image of the back of the house with the porch.
Okay. Guess I have to do a new share every time. So annoying. New share. How
That
about now?
really
Can you
has-
see it now?
No, I still have the same thing, Kevin.
All right, let me start again. How about now?
Yeah, okay. So you don't have any image that shows the back end of the house and how far this is from the distance of the house in this?
You see the stone wall here.
Yeah, you see this stone wall
Yeah.
here is, don't go back one, please, Kevin? No,
So there's kind of a
Okay,
distance, right?
that's-
You could see the corner of the house to about where that small tree is, and the tea house would be to the left of that. So it's about 25 feet away from the house roughly.
Right, and if you can go back to the one that has a wall in front of it, where you see the retaining wall, not that, not that, not that, not that. Slow down, Skipper. That's it.
that one.
All right, so you see, just to point out to the board, that retaining wall is facing the lake, and the lattice work that you see all the way on the right-hand side of the screen as you're facing it is where that's the back of this little shed. So it's going to be, and it's not going to be taller than the existing wood shed pile that's further down the lake.
I think we can, Kevin, we can try to do that rendering and you can do a site visit, but this is basically a lot of attention has been put into, this is an exceptionally beautiful house on an exceptionally beautiful, very large piece of property. And this is a small studio that's put in there, a 3-season studio, and it complements rather than competes. Trying to reproduce what's here would be virtually impossible, in my opinion, and boring.
No, you're absolutely right. It is a beautiful house, and that's our concern. Up in Newport, the Marble House, they have.
Yeah, it is my concern as well. So I appreciate your concern. Understand that it's my concern as well.
Great. So I think that then if that rendering that would any doubt that we have, I think that would get rid of that doubt and make sure, because it's like a tailor, measure twice and cut once, to make sure that everyone is 100% on board with that, you, us, and everybody, that it's not too close to the house, that it's diluting the fabulousness of the house and the fabulousness of this tea pavilion.
Let me
Any
ask
other
you.
Go on,
Go
Kevin.
ahead, Sheila, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So let me ask you a question. It'll probably take a week and a half or so to put this together. I know you're meeting in 2 weeks, correct?
Yes, if we have applications, we'll be meeting, yes.
Okay. Would it be I know Mr. Brooks really looking to get this thing started. Would it be possible to just bring it to the next meeting? I know you wouldn't have, or submit it maybe a few days in advance rather than the 10 days in advance. I don't think I can turn this around in 4 days, so.
If I
my
can say, the next meeting is 3 weeks away. We have
3
some extra
weeks.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not an expert at this, but it's just like photoshopping it in place so that it's not a huge detailed thing. It's just like getting a photograph of the current house and photoshopping in the thing. It'd be from a distance, from the lake. So it'd be like, I'm sure Mr. Brook has an existing photograph of his house from the lake, and just using that to Photoshop in this pavilion, just to get the the visibility. That's all we're requesting, not a major.
Yeah,
I think what you want to do is take a visit and look at the site, right? As opposed, I mean, we'll let Kevin do that stuff. But the answer is, I've been sitting on this for a while. Took a long time to design it. I think it's complimentary, and I'd like to get it done as soon as possible.
Well, I think if I can
And
just
in
sort of,
point of fact,
look,
Nobody sees this other than potentially from the lake.
if I could just interject, sir, I mean, the response, I think you're misconstruing the response of the board. The response of the board, as I understand it, is very positive, and maybe that's not coming through. I think that we wouldn't be doing our jobs on this board, and I hope you can see that, if we didn't ask a couple of questions about.
I appreciate it, and we're trying to go through that process.
Right.
And we'll have the stuff to you.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure that we were coming across accurately.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think if we get that material that we're requesting, that will be helpful. Does anyone else think it would be valuable to see the site?
Frankly,
Well-
all I need to do is to see
See the render.
what Christopher is asking is how they relate to each other. And a lot of it has to do with the, I would have assumed, frankly, that the presentation tonight would have included the color. Honestly, Kevin, I mean but that's the only missing link in this entire
Yeah.
business.
And I guess I've heard a little bit of contradictions. Maybe I'm mishearing everyone. I've heard Mr. Brooks say you may see it from the lake, but I've heard others say you can't see it from the lake. And I just am not clear if you can or you can't.
Well, yeah, you can see the slope to the left of this retaining wall. It's about a 35, 40-foot slope down to the lake. So from the immediate lakeside edge, you can't see it, but I believe from the center of the lake, you could see it. You'd probably be
But
600 or 700 feet
Not
away.
relevant. I'm sure you can see the house from the lake. You
Yeah,
should be able to see this. You can't see it from the road. You can't see it from
right.
the other side of the house, right?
Yep. Okay,
So
I got
the
it.
answer is it may be visible, but it's a small structure that'll be an artist's studio. And
I
it's
understand.
complimentary, so we'll have all that stuff to you.
Okay, so I think that the best thing we can do is see the new rendering. And
Well, let me ask you a question, because there's two different things here. One would be to create a whole 3D rendering of the structure, right? With digital rendering in 3 dimensions. Right now it's in 2 dimensions. Paul, do you have a shot from the lake presently of the rear of your house? A picture?
Yeah, I don't think I do, but I don't think you need a 3D.
Are you talking about building a 3D rendering, Kevin, or are you
Yeah,
talking
that's-
about just? I don't
No,
think that's what they're asking. I
No,
think what
it's
they're
not.
asking for.
That's what I'm
Can I-
going. that's
can I
what-
just
that's what I'm
jump
trying
in?
to get at.
Please,
Can I
Rob,
do it?
please, Rob.
excuse
Could
me.
I do it? Let me ask
No.
you a quick question. Paul has a,
Kevin,
yeah,
Can I
please,
just,
I think that what Rob is requesting is
Right.
not that you do that. If I'm not mistaken, Rob, are you correct? Am I correct in understanding that what you want to do is see how these
Correct.
2 images with the color, not a 3D construction of this or some outlandish production,
no,
but to give them a sense of what it looks like when it's next to the house, as if we were drawing it for a school play or whatever, an
So let's-
architectural, in any
Right.
way that will make it clear to the board what the 2 structures will look like next to each other, that they will have the same coloring where they're going to have the same coloring, how the windows and the doors frames are going to relate to each other, how the
Right.
steps will look next to each other. I understand. I think I understand what you're asking for,
Can-
Rob.
can
Uh-huh.
I just jump in? It's
Mm-hmm.
really very simple. You have a photograph, Kevin, of the new building, but you showed the photograph of the new building patinated, stained to the specifications of the people making it. It has nothing to do with what will be on that site. All we are asking is to take that photograph, and it could take you 5 minutes, frankly, adjust it to represent the paint
What we're
color.
going to do. And what we're going to do with the steps, because I think the steps that we're going to put there too. But I think I fully appreciate what you're asking, Rob and Chris. And I think we can actually do that in it's far simpler than I think Kevin understood you were requesting. And I think it'll be nice to see because I think the place, it's really, we've made the effort to make it look as close as possible. I think I think you'll like it ultimately. And I don't think it's going to be a big project.
I
We
expect,
appreciate it.
I expect that we will. I mean, frankly, it's just a step that's missing here. It's really
Okay.
very simple. It's
So you just
very
want me to colorize my 2D elevation and put it in scale next to the house.
exactly.
You
Right.
got it. Okay.
Okay,
Very good.
good.
That's
All right.
easy.
The
Thank you.
neighbors, I think with that,
One more
sorry.
comment, sorry. So that,
Go
yes, that we can see the correct elevation as well. So it is harmonious with the house. So it doesn't look as if it's wrong, whether if it's 1 foot higher or 1 foot lower or something, that could make a huge difference with the lines, the windows and that sort of thing. These are the small details that, we're trying to provide to help make this the most beautiful addition to Tuxedo Park. And so that there's nothing left unthought of. And that's
Okay.
our job. So that's what we
And I'm
can do.
sure you will be, I think we've thought of that and I think you're going to be happy to see it. So we'll be happy to show it.
We look forward
So
to
we
it.
can pull that.
Okay,
Is it clear there's a lot of work that's been put into this? It's not just a simple outbuilding that somebody's trying to put on their property, and we appreciate
Right,
that.
right. It's, yeah, we didn't go to Home Depot and just buy
Right,
a
I get
shed.
it.
I know
I
it's
get-
true.
God
This is
knows
definitely
too.
an effort there's been a tremendous amount of time and effort put into by Kevin and by Paul to make sure that this does actually not offend the aesthetic at all.
Thank
So
you.
I think you will be, that's not a very good, so we'll be able to put that together, I think, Kevin, I hope.
yes.
All right,
Great,
All right.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Okay.
night.
Okay. Okay. The patient, Mr. and Mrs. DeHadu, could you or your representative present your proposal for the addition to the first floor and a new second floor to your home at 106 East Lake Road?
Yes, hello, this is Peter, my husband, I'm Marina. And
Hi.
hi, and I wanted to tell you that we love the area, we love the location, and that's why we bought the house. We fell in love with the location and the views of the lake. And our house is probably one of the ugliest ones that exist in Tuxedo Park. I have rarely seen such a bad design and bad everything that you can imagine. Our neighbors call it very kindly the hut. And my friends and myself, we call it the Starship Enterprise because it is like a long sausage. So we have a very ugly house that was built in '89, very poor quality materials and very badly built with a stucco outside. And we're trying to make it into something which looks better. But also I need the space on the second floor because right now our bedroom is next to the garage. I have, unfortunately, I'm disabled and I spend most of my time working out of home. And I would love to see the lake instead of seeing nothing. Our house is completely hidden. You cannot see it from the lake. We have tried driving up and down on the other side of the lake and we cannot see the house. We cannot see it from any views whatsoever because when it was built in a cocoon. So we are not visible from any place possible except my neighbors, which we share a driveway with. But other than that, there's nothing that anyone else would be able to ever see from our house. We are looking at doing the house with sustainable materials and in a dark gray color. Right now we have a light gray color, which we don't like, so that it kind of, even you don't see it, but I would like something darker and not so visible. And my architect is Ellen, and she will go through the process of showing you what we would like to do. And basically, there has been a problem with the house, the way it was built. The foundation is not correct and the roof line was not correct. And she can explain to you better than I can. But there has to be the foundation squared off in a center, maybe by how much, Ellen? A foot?
You leave it.
You'll explain it to them.
I just wanted to add, I'm Peter, Marina's first and only husband. So having said that and having introduced myself, what I do want to stress with you is that we bought the house just maybe about a year before the pandemic set in. And we were going to actually renovate the house fairly shortly after having purchased the house. But in a way, there's always a silver lining in every cloud. And we found that the pandemic, our kids came, and one of the things that we did for nearly 2 years is just talk about numerous renditions to the house. So having lived in the house for the past 3.5 years, I think that we've gone through many variations. And I think that I can tell you that a lot of time and effort and thought went into trying to take what Marina said, a rather deficient situation, frankly, a rather ugly house, and try to do something and try to optimize it. So whatever Ellen's going to present to you, I think is the result of a lot of.
And
thought.
I got very excited. I found the most wonderful wood.
Well, let
Oh,
Ellen
well,
do the
Let me
presentation.
show it to them because, can I
Okay.
show it?
Oh,
to
let
them?
me see the wood.
Do it,
Can
yeah.
you give it to me?
Sure.
I found, we have a contractor who is Polish and he has a connection in Austria. And there is a special wood that comes from God knows where in Eastern Europe. No, this is the one I want.
Okay.
And look at the thickness of this wood.
Well, like-
This is about almost much more than a half an inch. So the house is going to be clad with, on the bottom, horizontally, I don't know how this goes. Horizontally, like this. And the top is going to be vertically like this.
Mhm.
So it's going to create a very interesting look, but it's going to be painted in this, a very
Mhm.
dark gray. So it's going to just be kind of muted and very simple and not garish at all. So everything will be very muted and I love the wood. I mean, it's like,
Actually, it's supposedly
It's-
Siberian wood, and some of these houses that they have built in that part of the world in Eastern Europe, they go back 400 or 500 years.
and the wood is still perfect. It doesn't move, it doesn't change, nothing happens to it. And animals don't get into it. I mean, it's just wonderful. I mean, I'm so excited. I tell you, I was looking at the different types of materials and I just didn't like everything. Everything was like, And this at least makes me feel happy to see it. It's like warm and nice and the texture is lovely and it's a beautiful wood. So I'm very
We
happy.
feel your passion for this project.
This is the wood for me has been, this has been like such a pleasure for me. And then the color, I think it's just nothing, but I mean, I like it because it's simple. It's not, it doesn't create color really. And when you see the house now is gray and you don't see it, not only because it's hidden completely with trees and the way the sloping is, but also because of the color, you just can't see the house. So by going into this color, which is a little bit darker than the original, it kind of creates like a very, it's almost like hugging it into the environment. So you don't really see it. And I don't like to see it. I want nature.
Excited.
You
Let's
got
see the plans. We're very excited. Thank you.
You know,
Yeah,
I-
let-
Okay.
can we let Ellen show us the plans
Sure.
now?
Okay. I'm gonna try to, I'm not very Zoom savvy, guys, just so you know, so bear with me. And hopefully I can share my screen. Let's see, where am I? Oh, I don't even know how to do this. Okay. Can you guys see that picture? or no?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Lovely house.
Okay, so that is a picture, kind of on this octagonal part of the house faces the lake. Okay, this is considered the back of the house, which was the lake side is the west elevation. This is the south elevation. So that's one photograph. Let's see if I can get to another one here. Let me get to the front. This is what you see when you drive up. Can you guys see that picture?
You
No,
see the
not yet.
same one? No, not yet.
It
Same
hasn't
one.
changed yet.
Yeah, gosh. Let me share. There we go. Okay. Can you see that now?
We see all the pictures now in tiny little
Oh.
boxes.
Oh, great. How do you do this? I wish I was more savvy.
Click
You
on
know
the
what, let me
picture. Click on each individual picture, I think.
I am
Oh.
doing it. All right, you know what? Let's go to my presentation because I actually have the photo. I have the presentations, the pictures.
Sounds
kind of
like a
in
plan.
In
Okay.
that presentation. Let's go to that. Okay. Now I'm gonna new share. And we're gonna go here. Okay, can you see the Dehado drawings? Can we see that?
Yes,
Good.
Okay, all right, let's make this bigger. All right, so that is the site plan where you guys are located. This is the site plan. You can see the shape of the house. It looks very much, Marina wasn't kidding when it was the Starship Enterprise. The house, the lot is very long and narrow, so the shape of the building was really, the site determined the shape of the building, I guess, when they originally designed it. And basically it had to be of this long, narrow shape in order to fit on the site. So that's what we have existing. And we're trying, originally when the Dehadus hired me, they asked me to basically just do some roof dormers so that we can get a second story. The existing roof is very highly pitched. We thought we could get enough headroom up there, but when I went up there, the roof structure was really not very well built, and there wouldn't be enough headroom to actually put a second story, usable space underneath the existing roof line. So then we started exploring ideas of actually putting in a whole new second floor. And now can you see the site plan now? My proposed site plan? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to put a new second floor on the middle, not towards the lake, but towards the entrance side of the property. And keep the octagon portion that's facing the lake as a one-story structure. So as the roof, as the site plan slopes down to the water, you're going to have a one-story facing the lake and then a two-story towards the rear of the property, so that the house itself is stepping up with the grade, and the sight lines are such that really just that one-story structure, which is I'll show you when we get to the elevations, is really what you're only going to see from the lake side. And then the addition, the second story addition, is set back far enough that it should not be seen from the lake. When we actually started to look at other existing conditions of the house, it seemed like when they built the house originally, they had an idea of the size of the house that they wanted. And then when they started to dig for the foundation, they hit rock outcropping. So they wound up reducing the footprint of the foundation walls and then cantilevered the first floor beyond the existing foundation line. And they actually cantilevered out 30 inches towards the north and almost 3 feet to the south. And unfortunately, they didn't step up the floor framing in order to accommodate that structurally. And the house has had horrible settling problems because it's basically, the floors are unsupported. So as part of this proposal, when we go to put the new second story on, we are going to be adding additional foundation work just under the main section of the building. We're not creating new basement underneath there. Obviously, it's in the rock, but that's some of the additional work that has to get done in the proposal. The decks that are on the building right now, we're going to keep them as is. We're just going to have to do some shoring to hold them up as we're doing the new construction. We are not taking down any trees to do this work. The trees that are around the building now, we might have to just prune them back a little bit in order to put the second story up, but there's really no reason to take down any trees because we're just going up. We're only doing a minor small addition to the rear. Okay, move on. This is showing that new foundation work to the north side, and then we have to add some additional columns on the south side. That's over in here. This is a little bump out that we're doing, which is an internal staircase that will take us up to the second floor. there's minor changes that are going on in the interior on the basement level, just minor changes to the floor plate. On the first floor, again, every little work is within the existing footprint. So we're taking down some walls, we're rearranging other walls, and then this minor addition to the south to take us up as a service entrance from the outside. New staircase here and an elevator for Marina to get upstairs. This is the second story. So on the second story is where kind of the magic happens, because this is, you know, all the new work. This octagon structure here, we're eliminating the existing roof and we're lowering the roof line. We're creating a rooftop terrace in this middle section that from the master bedroom and Marina's study, she can get outside without having to go down the stairs. She can go outside and enjoy the lake and the beautiful weather. And then, you know, we continue on getting a nice master suite and a large guest suite on the second floor. So here are some elevations of what's happening. This is the north side of the house. Now, the house was designed as a contemporary structure. And let me just quickly flip to, okay, so this is the photos of the existing house right now on the top. It's a stucco building. It had a very sweeping roof line with large overhangs, kind of trying to be somewhat Frank Lloyd Wright, I guess, in attempts, but not done very well. The siding was a stucco over Dryvit. It's, you know, the horribly very cheap material. You can see right in here, you can see where the foundation is cantilevered. The house is cantilevered over this foundation. We want to enclose that in so we protect the structure. This area here, this octagon, is we're going to lower this roof line, and this rest of this, all of this roof comes off. And if I go back, so here's the octagon with the lower roof line. You can see up here, this is the dotted roof line of where the existing roof line was. So our building is really not going to be any higher, just a couple of feet higher right in this tip than the existing structure. But instead of having a soaring roof line, it's going to have a more contemporary, shallower pitched roof line and a full second story. This area here that we took a little opportunity to get away from all the flatness of the facade, because there's not much I can do about the facade. It's a long flat facade. So we took a little bit of architectural liberty to do a little bit of a soaring roof line, kind of with windows that would face in this direction, which is facing the view and kind of honoring the lake, with the soaring roof line that honors, you know, gives a nod and honors the lake. The siding material that Marina is so excited about, I'm excited about too. We did it in two different directions, again, because it is such a long flat facade, to give it some human scale, and with an interesting accent line running through the middle. The garage doors is the first thing that you run into, and we're planning on doing a hidden garage door detail, so that the siding kind of goes over the garage doors themselves, so they're not even seen. Interestingly enough, though, even though the house was so poorly made, at some point they upgraded the windows, and the windows are in really good shape. So we're gonna keep the windows that we can keep, and keep them in their current position. We might relocate a few windows, and then we're gonna match the existing windows that were on the house. And I sent you those specs. They're an Anderson window, and we're gonna keep those in that existing dark browns color. Under all the foundation area, all the foundation work, we're going to be putting this applied stacked stone on it. Again, we're trying to kind of get that sense of having stone hit the ground. So it's very natural. So you're going from the natural feeling of stone of the earth going to the stone on the building. And then we move into the wood siding. The roof is going to be a simple black, dark black or charcoal asphalt shingle. But again, the roof line is a fairly shallow pitched roof. It's really not so much, it's not the story here. It's not the architectural story. It's really going to be about the wood siding. So these are these existing photos that I talked to you about before. And this is these perspectives, I have to just say as a caveat here, is that when these renderings that we do, they're for massing. They're not really representative of how they're going to look on the site, because the site drops down so quickly that if you are actually a person standing on the site, the actual kind of perspective would be very, very different. So it wouldn't have, it's not going to have, in my opinion, that kind of a large feeling to it. It's going to have a very, very smaller, more in keeping with the landscape. And obviously there's no trees in my renderings or anything like that. And you can see how treed the property is. These are really just done for massing and material. Underneath our roof line, though, we are going to do contrasting wood. It's the same wood, but we're going to do a natural stain on it. And then the door is going to be a custom made door out of the same wood, with the natural stain on it. And moving right along, this is a detail of that hidden garage door detail, rather than that, just quite ugly. And then this is the view from the south. Again, you'd never ever see the building like this, because you'd have to be miles away in order to see it like that. But that's the general feeling of the shape of the house. These are the existing wood decks that are staying. We're going to upgrade and do a more modern railing on our proposed balcony on the second floor here. These are the existing windows. The windows are, they're really a non-story to this. It's really just more about the openings. It's not about highlighting them as a window. This is the view from the rear, actually the lake side. And this is proposed from the lake side. Again, I don't think you're really going to see much of that in situ from the lake, because the lake is much further down even from where this picture was taken. And that's pretty much it. Any questions? I mean, this is a lot to absorb in one meeting. We realize
It
that.
is. And
Yeah,
it's such a contrast to what
Yeah.
we usually see in the park. And, but it's very interesting. And I'm sure some of our experts on the board are going to have a lot to say.
I think it's a really nice contrast.
Yeah.
I love seeing modern design added into the mix when it's as thoughtfully, designed as this is, and as thoughtfully cited as this is. I think it's a really strong addition to, and also both strong and at the same time wonderfully invisible. The materials, I think I vicariously share your passion for the Siberian fir, if that's what it is, and as well as the gray tinting. I love the offset with the same material, but in a natural stain on the underside of the roof line. There's just a lot that I like about this. And in its elevation, not that anyone would see it, it strangely echoes, I think, if I've got the name right, the Purcell Cuts house on Buzzards Bay. But it's sort of a modern play on that. My one question, or I have two small questions, and they pertain to materials, not the wood, which is beautiful, but A, the roofing, and B, the sourcing of the stone that you were showing.
Mhm.
Oh, the stone. Just a second. I have stone.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess my one question, I don't know if you were here for the earlier items on the agenda, but one of the
This is the
applicant,
stone.
right. So one of the applicants on, I think it's Laurelard Road, they were doing an addition for a family room, and they used raised seam steel for the addition. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw
Yes,
it.
we did say it.
I saw
Yes.
it. Mhm.
So I guess my question is for a house as bold as this, you know, I would, my natural question, I think natural would be, do you have the right roofing choice right now with that I don't know what the term is for what you're using right now. The
Composite.
Asphalt shingle.
Right.
Yeah, the asphalt shingle to me seemed an odd choice for the boldness of this design. And I guess I wondered whether, and I don't imagine it would be a great difference in cost for the budget, whether raised
is.
seam steel wouldn't have been a smarter option, but.
We considered that as our first choice, and when we went to price it, it was significantly higher.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was actually my original suggestion as a roofing material. So I
I see.
happen to agree with you. You know, we could probably explore that again, but you know, this project budget-wise has escalated way beyond what we had anticipated in the initial
Sure.
attempts, and a lot of that was because of all the inherent structural problems that we've had to overcome in order to even do anything that's workable on the house. So
Well, thank you for explaining that. I honestly haven't shopped for roofing lately, so I didn't know the difference for the budget.
so we are going to continue. You know, I guess you guys have the obligation of approving things, you know, that's being presented to you, and you don't want us to be flip-flopping as we move through the process. But you know, we are trying to meet a budget and get started soon. So if we can get that metal roofing to happen, I think we'd like to have that happen.
We don't mind changes, but like you say, it can adjust the timeline on the review. That's
right.
But we work with you.
Right.
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, if the raised seam steel roof, you know, with the beautiful black color, I just think it would be a knockout. But admittedly, budget is a very big issue. And then just circling back before I sort of move on to our other colleagues, the stone looks great in this rendering, this sort of a 3/4 elevation I'm looking at right here.
Mhm.
There was another illustration, Ellen, that you showed where this one,
Yeah.
and I just had no clear sense of the scale of those lateral bands of stone. So
Well, okay, so this rendering is a little bit of a jumping the gun. Marina asked me if we were going to redo the front entrance and walkway, which if we go and do that, we would want to, we'd have to circle back to you guys as a separate proposal to do that. But really, the stone is going to exist from only on the basement level. So on the front elevation, you're not going to see, or what I'm calling the front or north elevation, you're not going to see very much of it until you start to, if you were walking across the property and you started to walk down, and around this octagon.
Right.
And then it'd start to reveal itself. It's on the chimney, and then we did do a large section of it at the front door. Just to highlight the front entrance, and again give the give the massing, which is so flat and planar, to give it a little texture. If you move around to the, let's see, do I have a view of it? It's not great in this rendering because it's hidden by the deck, but the octagon, again, it's going to be entirely on the octagon. So
Right.
from this, so all of this area under here from the lake, if you actually did get to see it, you would see the stone, which I think would be a happy addition, because you're going to be going up this beautiful rocky outcropping, and then you're going to see the stone kind of, so the house is sort of kind of morphing out of the ground.
Yeah,
back
to
in
me,
here.
it's one of the beautiful changes that you all are making. My question was just how I think you want the stones that are being used to be appreciable in scale and size and massing, for it to look right. And the image that I saw was just giving me a little bit of a worry, because in the other image, they looked a little bit
the stacked stone image.
they
This
looked
image here.
yeah
And
they
that
looked,
image you're saying.
it looks insubstantial to my eye, in a way that if across the entire expanse could be problematic.
Well, it is a ledge stone. This is a cultured stone. It's a ledge, and it is a ledge stone, so it's going to have that kind of stacked, very stacked. It's going to be very textural
And quite dry laid, I guess.
Yes, it's exactly. So it's going to be very textural. It's not going to feel like it's not going to feel like it was a rubble foundation, if that's what you're asking for. It's really going to feel really just more like a surface texture. And that was the goal.
And Ellen, I'm not familiar with cultured stone. Is it a man-made product?
Yeah, it's a man-made product. It is a man-made product.
That would be one of my hesitations, because one of the things that we try to encourage is all natural materials, and especially native when you can. The wood is beautiful, and I think that's going to be stunning. But the man-made stone gives me a little pause.
Well,
but
again, we're
think
trying to get the budget to work out, and
Sure.
we can certainly explore other options that would be within budget.
But I did want to say that I find your design to be incredibly refreshing and creative and beautiful, and I think it's going to be a huge improvement, and your clients should be very, very happy.
I
Well,
agree.
they've been a pleasure to work with, and very inspiring synergistic relationship that we have. So
Great.
I agree. It's nice that to have something of our century added to the park to continue great architectural traditions, and add something from our own century. The main things that I'm delighted with about the project, removing those skylights, are they all going?
Yes.
they're all going. They're all going.
Yeah, I don't want to wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock.
That's
I
a
can't
great,
stand them.
that's a great plus, because that visually is very very
Oh,
disturbing.
they're horrible.
The pitch of the roof just to me evokes Villa Malaparte and Capri. So that it goes the other way around, but it's very evocative. That the two sort of constructive criticisms that I have is share the worry about the fake stone. That to me is a deal breaker. So if it so less stone but real stone, if that's the the solution for the budget. Yeah, fake stone just kills it. I mean, with this beautiful wood and then that fake stone, to me that just sticks out like a sore thumb, and would do harm to the project. The other thing, and I wish I could give you some constructive ideas about it, the huge windows facing the lake. I'm not sure if there were any other options or something. If I'm trying to work out what's missing or what could be added, or I like them, but I'm not in love with them. And that is what we're going to see. Obviously, we're going to see the improvement of the lowering of the roof of the octagonal room, so that's a bonus. But that is pretty much what I'm saying, and that is the only element that I really care about, because that's going to be the most visible from the lake. The rest of the house is wonderfully hidden. So I'm wondering if you had any other ideas or thoughts about that to make it even more stunning. That I want to get my boat out and show people.
Sorry, we were not planning to change anything. This is what is existing right now on the front of the house, on the octagon. So we were planning to leave them the way they are currently.
No, I think he's talking about in your master bedroom, Marina.
Oh, that. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
Yeah, those huge, they stick out. That's the most visible thing.
I'm
That's
sorry.
where, that's where the attention, the
Christopher,
opportunity is.
I don't think that as if you drive on the other side of on West Lake, you really can't see much of our house, really.
Ellen, could we
Right.
see?
Oh, okay, you're talking about right in here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so we wanted to have this glorious roof line that faced, kind of pulled you towards the water and towards the lake, but it gave us a big wall in our space. That, it's probably 13 feet, 14 feet to the underside here. What do you do? The question is, what do you do with a big wall like that? This is the normal window headline at 80 inches. So I appreciate your comment. I'm not sure what else we would do with a big wall like that, besides put glass in it.
Do you have an elevation of that?
Yeah, I do. Let's see. I have that. Let's
Garage
see right
parking
here,
lot,
right back in here.
Okay.
So it would be quite a ways behind that octagonal USS Enterprise deck. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it's good. It's a good 40 feet back,
Mhm.
35, 40 feet back.
I mean, so presumably the octagonal structure would kind of really blunt any impact. I'm also mindful of just, the house is also a machine for living, and the experience of being up there. I think that, as I understand the proposal, that's a very important part of the project, is allowing that to be so magnificently fenestrated, for the experience of being up there, in the study.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so that, that would be a detail that, just speaking for myself, I wouldn't have wanted to touch, understanding that it is such an important part of the entire enterprise, as it were.
Correct. Thank you.
Yes, I think the environment from the interior will be quite glorious in those two spaces.
Like a gigantic tree house that's also an ocean liner, right?
I'll be very jealous of Marina working in that.
Come and have coffee with me in my office,
I think too that you're
in my tree house.
you're drawing the fenestration seems a little more delicate than the 3D.
Yeah, the 3D again is lacking a little bit. We do these in my office. I'm not a professional renderer, but we do this just for our own kind of understanding of the massing.
Right.
And it helps us get that far. But it's certainly what I produce is certainly falls short to a professional architectural rendering.
I gotta say, it's getting me very excited about this project. I'm starting to share Marina's passion about this project.
Ah. Yeah, we were a little worried because, it's so easy to kind of accept traditional buildings in a village that has such wonderful architecture. And I'm glad that you can see the merit in modernism. I do all sorts of architecture. I don't just do modern. I've done the gamut over my 45 some odd year career. But this was exciting for me because I don't often have clients that want to do something.
And
fresh.
Ellen, I'm just looking at the octagonal protuberance, and it's amazing what you've achieved just by flattening the roof. It becomes a thing of beauty, and it, as is, it's really, I have to agree with the applicants. I mean, it isn't beautiful. Yeah. It's like a Quonset hut gone horribly awry or something. And now what you've done by flattening it, it becomes really interesting to me.
Yep, and then we tucked a little terrace up there too, so that's going to be exciting for
A
Marie.
bonus.
Secret lake house. Yeah.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have any comments? We did notice the neighbors, and it doesn't sound like doesn't sound like you're going to need variances. So we look forward to seeing, the next iteration and maybe some other suggestions about the stonework and anything else that evolves. But we
So-
think you're going in the right direction.
I'd like to make some comments if I
Oh,
could.
good.
Yeah.
Sure.
You definitely have a lot of challenges with this house for sure. I guess I'm going to disagree with everyone here. I don't feel that this is the right direction. I'd like to see something more sympathetic to the landscape, which is like we typically like to see with more homes that are newer here. It goes from the Starship Enterprise for another Star Trek reference to kind of a bored cube here. And I'm not sure that that's really the right fit for this, particularly the fascia that faces the lake. It's it's very square and angular.
Well, I don't know how we would accomplish a huge deviation trying to work with the existing footprint. If we had the ability to, without going into extensive variances and pushing and pulling and getting things that were not so planar, we would have taken that opportunity. But the footprint, the side yards, setback lines are kind of really shoehorning the shape of the building. And also programmatically, we don't really need to start adding things on the first floor that we don't need to add just for the sake of making more interesting volumes and stuff. So I'm not sure how I'm not sure how we would accomplish what you're asking for.
I kind of like that the
entire
elevation is
do-over.
a lot higher. Yeah, I like that the elevations aren't really dramatically changed by your project, and you fit a lot into the same kind of footprint. I understand what Josh is saying. I'm just not sure how to accommodate it.
Yeah, I don't know how to accommodate it either, because it's just again, there's really no room to breathe on the property.
If I could just move back to some of the things that are really exciting about this design. And I don't know what term to use, but it's not a string course exactly, but that huge lateral right above the first floor going all the way into the rejiggered octagon, I just think is such a smart and effective detail to bind the design together and to give it a true elegance.
And actually, that's a very historic detail when you think about it. If you look at some of the really large shingle style homes of the last century, they often had that second floor line kind of pivoting around the entire structure, and it did help to unify what was often a lot of hodgepodge in shingle style architecture. So
And the
in
way
a-
that it echoes the same dimensions, the same sort of depth or thickness of what you see on the actual roof line above. And the counterpoint is so great, the way it then just takes off, like a ski jump. Right? So there's this, it's just a beautiful conversation between those two lines.
Well, I think, so you've heard a number of comments. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for sharing your vision, and we look forward to see the next evolution of this project.
Well, can we just clarify exactly what we feel that you need to work on as a group? Or are you guys going to come back to us with a consensus? Because I'm getting a little bit of a divergence of opinions.
Well,
The bottom line was the stone. I think that's the most important.
The stone and the roofing material.
Correct.
Okay.
And beyond that, all the applicant needs to know is that this is a board of 5 people, and we're not always going to agree with one another on every last detail or the comprehensive whole. So, to the extent that you're hearing different things, what you need is to have 3 or 4 of us, agree.
Okay. All right, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you very
really
much for your
appreciate
Yes,
it.
we appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
I'm glad that you're excited as I am about it, because this is for me wonderful to have a new beginning with this house that looks so terrible right now.
We are, or some of us are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
you.
very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Good night,
you.
all. All right.
Good
so-
night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good
Bye.
night.
Oh, and could you take that off? Yeah, okay, great.
Bye.
All right, so that leaves us with a review of the minutes. Desiree, could you tell me the date?
Yes, of February 17th, 2022.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the February 17th minutes of the bar. Is there a second?
Second.
Wake up. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Sure is. Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sheila.
Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you
Night.
all. Have a good night.
Go eat your corned beef. Bye.
Okay.